Nietzsche had a severe test for freedom, and most successful people fail it before breakfast. He did not ask how much money you make. He did not ask how impressive your title sounds. He asked something uglier: how much of your day is actually yours? If 2/3 of your day belongs to labor, obligation, schedules, recovery, and preparation for more labor, Nietzsche's verdict was harsh. A human being without that much time for himself is not free in any serious sense. He may be respected, he may be paid well, he may even be powerful in the eyes of other people, but inside his own life, he is owned. Nietzsche's attack on chasing money cuts deeper than a simple complaint about greed. He was not saying money is dirty. He was saying the chase can train a person to surrender the very thing money pretends to buy: freedom. Look at the modern rhythm. You wake up and check numbers before your mind is even settled into the day. Messages, deadlines, calendar blocks, bills, goals, investments, promotions, productivity. You work, then feel guilty for resting, then call that guilt ambition. Even leisure has to defend itself now. A walk becomes exercise, sleep becomes performance recovery, reading becomes self-improvement, silence becomes suspicious unless it serves some measurable outcome. Nietzsche saw that sickness forming long before phones, apps, dashboards, or hustle culture. He saw a society beginning to think with a stopwatch in its hand. He saw people rushing through life with a kind of breathless seriousness, as if every unmeasured minute were a moral failure. The frightening part is how easily this gets mistaken for strength. A person who cannot sit still looks driven. A person who cannot rest looks disciplined. A person who cannot waste time looks serious. But Nietzsche would ask a colder question: if you cannot stop, who is commanding you? The command may not come from a master standing over you. It may come from rent, reputation, debt, comparison, fear, ambition, or the quiet panic of falling behind. The voice is internal now, which makes it harder to recognize. You do not need someone giving orders when you have learned to police yourself. Here, Nietzsche becomes dangerous. He does not let you hide behind the word work. For him, the problem was not simply that people worked. Human beings have always needed effort, discipline, craft, and struggle. Nietzsche was not preaching laziness. He respected strength too much for that. His target was something more humiliating: the kind of work that consumes the nervous force a person would need in order to become independent. In Daybreak, he described work as something like the best police. Severe labor uses up enormous nervous energy. After enough of it, a person has less force left for reflection, for dangerous desire, for private dreams, for real love, for real hatred, for serious independence. The idea is vicious. Exhaustion is not just an unfortunate side effect of the money chase. Exhaustion is part of what makes the chase so effective. A tired person is easier to govern. Not always by law, often by habit. He comes home with enough energy to consume, scroll, complain, recover, and sleep. He may hate the arrangement, but hatred also requires strength. So does imagination, so does rebellion, and so does the slow work of asking what kind of life would actually be worth living. The system does not have to defeat every dream directly. It only has to drain the force needed to pursue one. This is why the money chase can become so slave-like. It does not merely take hours from the day. It reshapes the person who owns those hours. It teaches him to value speed over department, usefulness over greatness, safety over becoming, salary over self-command. At first, the trade looks rational. You tell yourself the sacrifice is temporary. One more promotion, one more raise, one more milestone, one more year of being useful to something you do not control. Then comes Nietzsche's nastiest reversal. A higher wage does not automatically save you. It is easy to imagine the poor worker as trapped and the well-paid professional as free. Nietzsche does not let that fantasy survive. A person can sell expensive hours and still be reduced to an impersonal cog. The arrangement can have better lighting. The dependence can come with status. The schedule can come with stock options. None of it proves the person has become master of himself. A raise can make dependence more comfortable. It can also make escape more expensive. Once your identity is tied to earning, losing income starts to feel like losing yourself. Once comfort grows around obedience, freedom begins to look irresponsible. You learn to fear the open air because the cage has become climate-controlled. Nietzsche's criticism is easy to misunderstand here. He was not offering a socialist speech about workers overthrowing the rich. He had no patience for herd resentment dressed up as morality. He also attacked the dream of a comfortable, equal, riskless society where nobody strives for anything higher. So the point is sharper than politics. Nietzsche is attacking a spiritual condition. The greedy rich man and the resentful comfort seeker can both worship the same small god. One says, "I need more." The other says, "I deserve security." Both can still organize the soul around external measurement. Both can still avoid the harder question, what kind of human being am I becoming? Money becomes dangerous when it stops being a tool and becomes the ruler of value. At that point, the question is no longer, can I pay for life? It becomes, can I justify my life through pay? Here, slave morality enters the room. Nietzsche believed that moral values often emerge from the conditions people live under. When people are trapped, weak, dependent, or suffering, they learn to praise qualities that help them survive that condition. Patience, obedience, humility, diligence, usefulness, endurance, being easy to manage, being reliable for someone else's purposes. Modern culture often turns those traits into sacred virtues. You are praised for being responsive, praised for grinding, praised for sacrificing, praised for being low maintenance, praised for never making trouble, praised for giving the best part of your day to a structure that may forget your name a week after you leave. Some of those traits are necessary. Nobody serious thinks discipline is worthless. The danger begins when survival habits are mistaken for greatness. A person can become proud of being usable. Nietzsche wants you to feel the humiliation in that. The perfect worker may look mature, responsible, and respectable. He may have the clean resume, the correct manners, the strong references, the polished vocabulary of ambition. Yet underneath all of that, he may be trained for obedience so completely that he calls it character. He does not need chains. He has values. He says he is practical when he has only become afraid of department. He says he is realistic when he has adjusted his desires downward. He says he is building a life when most of his life has been rented out in advance. Chasing money becomes more than an economic behavior. It becomes a way of shrinking the soul until it fits the available incentives. Nietzsche would not be impressed by a person who wins inside a game he never chose. He would ask what the game has done to him. Has it made him stronger, deeper, more dangerous, more honest, more capable of creating values? Or has it made him efficient, anxious, replaceable, and proud of being tired? The question is cruel because it does not spare the ambitious person. The lazy person can be weak. Nietzsche knew that. Comfort can rot a human being, but the career-obsessed person can be weak in a more socially rewarded way. He can mistake motion for strength. He can spend his entire life climbing and never ask who built the ladder, where it leads, or why he is so terrified to step away. Nietzsche's own life makes this harder to dismiss. He was not writing from the safety of a comfortable fortune. At 24, he became a professor at the University of Basel, an astonishing achievement. He had status early, institutional respect, a serious position, a path that many people would have clung to as proof of success. Then his health broke down, and by 34, he resigned. He lived on a modest pension, around 3,000 Swiss francs, and spent years moving through boarding houses, rented rooms, and cheap arrangements across Europe. The choice did not make him glamorous. It made him vulnerable. In Sils Maria, he lived cheaply, in conditions that could look almost pathetic from the outside. One account describes a room crowded with manuscripts, coffee cups, eggshells, and ordinary personal items. Not the heroic chamber of a philosopher king, more like the cramped shelter of a sick man protecting the one thing he refused to surrender. His freedom did not look like luxury. It looked cold, narrow, and unstable. This matters because Nietzsche was not selling a fantasy where rejecting the money chase turns life beautiful. He knew the price. Financial independence was not handed to him. The alternative to respectable obedience was often loneliness, illness, embarrassment, and practical anxiety. He sometimes needed help. He asked friends for money. He leaned on Overbeck. He dealt with bills and humiliations that do not fit the clean image of the fearless philosopher. The man who wrote so fiercely about strength still had to live inside a body that hurt and a world that demanded payment. There is no cheap inspirational lesson here. Nietzsche's life does not say, quit your job and everything will become pure. It says something harsher. If you want time for your own becoming, you may have to pay for it in comfort, approval, and security. And even then, the price may not feel noble while you are paying it. His position is hard to absorb for that reason. He did not worship poverty. He did not call money evil. He did not pretend suffering automatically makes a person profound. Poverty can crush people. Lack of money can narrow life brutally. Nietzsche understood dependence too well to romanticize it honestly. His warning aims at the moment money becomes the highest answer. When money becomes the measure, every gift inside you gets dragged before the same judge. Is it useful? Can it pay? Will it improve status? Can it be monetized? Can it be turned into a credential, a brand, a strategy, a step? Even your private life starts speaking the language of the marketplace. Friendship becomes networking, health becomes optimization, reading becomes leverage, personality becomes image, rest becomes maintenance, and thought becomes content. A human being can survive that way for a long time. He can even look impressive doing it. The danger is that he may stop noticing what has disappeared. Depth disappears first, then slowness, then useless beauty, then solitude, then courage that has no audience, then the ability to want something without immediately asking what it is worth. By the time the person realizes what happened, he may have achieved exactly what he was chasing. He may have the money, the title, the apartment, the watch, the quiet respect of people who are chasing the same thing, and still, he may not have himself. Nietzsche's idea of the last man becomes the final warning. The last man is not starving. He is not tragic in the obvious way. He is comfortable, safe, entertained, and small. He avoids great risks. He distrusts great passions. He does a little work, enjoys a little pleasure, and believes he has discovered happiness because nothing higher is making demands on him. Nietzsche saw a nightmare at the end of this road. Not dramatic collapse, not visible restraints, but a softer defeat. People become too comfortable to aim upward, too entertained to feel the loss, too tired to revolt against their own smallness. They do not become monsters, they become harmless. And harmlessness, for Nietzsche, was not the highest human achievement. The money chase helps build this person because it offers a perfect compromise. You get to feel busy without becoming great. You get to feel responsible without becoming free. You get to feel important while serving values you did not create. You get rewarded just enough to keep going and drained just enough not to ask what going is for. Here sits the most uncomfortable part of Nietzsche's attack. He is not only criticizing greed, he is criticizing the respectable life that lets greed hide under discipline. The person chasing money may think he is escaping dependence. Sometimes he is. Money can buy distance from chaos, protection from need, and room to breathe. Nietzsche would not be stupid enough to deny that. Yet beyond a certain point, the chase can reverse itself. Instead of money serving life, life serves money. Instead of work supporting strength, strength is spent on work. Instead of ambition expressing freedom, ambition becomes the approved form of surrender. The question then is not whether you should earn. That would be childish. The question is, what earning has trained you to become? Can you still be alone without reaching for distraction? Can you still waste an afternoon without feeling accused? Can you still think a thought that has no market value? Can you still disappoint the expectations that keep you respectable? Can you still tell the difference between wanting something and being trained to chase it? Nietzsche's standard is severe because he measures freedom from the inside, not by income, not by comfort, not by reputation, not by how polished the cage looks from the outside. He asks whether enough of your day, enough of your energy, and enough of your soul remain available for your own becoming. If the answer is no, then the title, the salary, and the applause do not rescue you. They may only decorate the surrender. A person can be poor and unfree. A person can be rich and unfree. A person can be exhausted by survival or exhausted by success. Nietzsche's insult is that both conditions can produce the same spiritual result, a human being who no longer belongs to himself. So the final question is not, how much money is enough? The more dangerous question is what part of you had to become obedient before money became your highest proof of worth. Maybe you are not chasing wealth. Maybe you are chasing permission to finally feel valuable. And if that is true, Nietzsche would say the slavery began long before the paycheck arrived. It began when you learned to measure your life from the outside. A child does not naturally ask whether his wonder is profitable. He does not look at the sky and wonder how it improves his market value. He does not run, draw, sing, climb, imagine, or ask questions because these things optimize his future earning potential. Then slowly, the world trains him. Be useful, be impressive, be realistic, be employable, be productive, be easy to explain, be easy to rank, be easy to sell. At some point, the person forgets those were instructions. He begins to mistake them for his own desires. The money chase wins most deeply when it does not merely command behavior. It colonizes wanting. It makes a person desire the very symbols that prove he has been absorbed. He wants the salary because it proves he matters. He wants the title because it proves he is ahead. He wants the expensive life because it proves he has not wasted himself. He wants admiration from people trapped in the same race because their admiration feels like evidence. But Nietzsche would ask, evidence of what? Evidence that you are becoming stronger? Or evidence that you have become legible to the herd? Nietzsche's contempt for the herd matters here. The herd is not simply other people. That is too easy. The herd is the force inside you that wants safety through sameness. It is the voice that asks, what will they think, before asking, is this mine? It is the instinct that would rather be approved than alive. Money is powerful because it gives the herd a simple language. Numbers remove ambiguity. They make comparison clean. Who earns more? Who owns more? Who moved ahead? Who fell behind? Who can afford proof? The deeper a person's uncertainty about his own worth, the more desperately he clings to measurable signs. And money is the cleanest sign of all. It speaks quickly, it travels well, it silences doubt for a moment, but only for a moment. No amount of external proof can permanently answer an internal question. The chase keeps accelerating because of this. The person does not simply want money. He wants money to do metaphysical work. He wants it to tell him he is real, chosen, superior, safe, finally beyond judgment. But money cannot carry that weight, so every achievement decays. Every number becomes normal. Every victory becomes the new floor. The same fear returns, now dressed in better clothes. This is not freedom. This is dependency with better branding. Nietzsche would call it a failure of self-command. The person who needs the world to keep confirming his value is not master of himself. He is emotionally employed by public opinion. His boss may sign the paycheck, but his deeper employer is comparison. And comparison is merciless because it never ends. There is always someone younger, richer, sharper, freer, more admired, more visible. The money chase promises superiority, but it produces permanent exposure. You are never simply living. You are being ranked. Even success can feel anxious for this reason. The successful person has more to lose, more image to maintain, more proof to keep producing, more people watching, more lifestyle to fund, more identity invested in outcomes he cannot fully control. He tells himself he has escaped insecurity, but he may have only upgraded its furniture. Nietzsche's question cuts through the illusion. Can this person still command himself when the applause stops? If the answer is no, then he is not free. He is dependent on tribute. This dependency can hide behind very noble words: responsibility, ambition, excellence, providing, winning, legacy. Some of those words can be real. Do not be stupid about this. Nietzsche is not attacking everyone who works hard, builds wealth, supports a family, or creates something valuable. That would be lazy moralizing. The issue is not whether you earn money. The issue is whether money has become the God that organizes every other value beneath it. When money becomes God, courage becomes risk management, friendship becomes advantage, love becomes lifestyle compatibility, education becomes credentialing, health becomes productivity maintenance, art becomes content, thought becomes monetizable insight, even suffering becomes a brand story. Nothing is allowed to exist for itself. This is the real poverty Nietzsche feared, not the absence of cash, but the absence of higher valuation. A human being becomes small when he can no longer honor anything that does not pay, impress, or advance him. He becomes incapable of reverence. And without reverence, life becomes flat. The world is no longer full of terrifying, beautiful, useless, dangerous things. It becomes a marketplace of opportunities and threats. Every person becomes a contact, competitor, client, audience, employer, or obstacle. That is not strength. That is spiritual malnutrition. The tragic irony is that many people enter the money chase because they want power. But power, for Nietzsche, is not merely control over resources. It is the expansion of force, the capacity to shape oneself, to endure solitude, to create values, to transform suffering into form, and to say yes to one's life without begging the herd for permission. A person can have money and possess none of that. He can command employees and not command his appetites. He can own property and not own his attention. He can influence markets and still be terrified of silence. He can buy privacy and still be unable to be alone. Nietzsche would not be impressed. Because the test is not what you can purchase. The test is what you can become. And becoming requires time. Not leftover time, not exhausted time, not the dead scraps at the edge of the day after the machine has taken its portion. Real time, prime time, time with blood still in it. The 2/3 rule matters so much because of this. It is not mathematical trivia. It is a spiritual standard. Nietzsche is saying, if the majority of your living energy is consumed by something outside your own becoming, then your life is structurally against you. You may still survive. You may still succeed. You may still be admired. But your highest possibility is being starved. And the starvation may be invisible because your life looks full. Full calendar, full inbox, full accounts, full apartment, full resume, full mouth of explanations. But the question remains, full of what? A packed life can still be empty if none of it belongs to the deeper self. Nietzsche's attack feels so insulting because he is not impressed by busyness. He sees busyness as one of the great hiding places of modern weakness. It lets people avoid the terror of asking what they actually want. Because that question is dangerous. If you ask it honestly, you might discover that your ambition is borrowed. You might discover that your goals are inherited. You might discover that your discipline is fear-wearing armor. You might discover that the life you are sacrificing yourself for was designed by people who never cared whether you became anything more than useful. Most people would rather stay busy than face that. Work becomes anesthesia. The calendar becomes protection. The money chase becomes a socially approved way to never meet yourself. Leisure terrifies the modern person for this reason. Not because leisure is empty, but because it gives the soul room to speak. And many people have spent years making sure it never gets a full sentence out, so they fill every gap. Music while walking, podcasts while eating, scrolling while waiting, planning while resting, optimization while living. Silence threatens to reveal the fraud. Nietzsche would say, the person who cannot endure solitude has not yet become an individual. He remains a crossroads where other people's values pass through. And if that person chases money, the chase will not liberate him. It will only amplify whatever already rules him. If fear rules him, money becomes armor. If vanity rules him, money becomes theater. If resentment rules him, money becomes revenge. If emptiness rules him, money becomes distraction. If herd instinct rules him, money becomes proof that he belongs near the top of the herd. But none of these are freedom. Freedom begins when a person can ask, what do I value when nobody is rewarding me for valuing it? That question is rare because it cannot be outsourced. No salary boss, audience, ideology, or productivity system can answer it. Here, Nietzsche becomes unbearable for modern people. He removes the excuses. He does not let the poor person turn weakness into virtue. He does not let the rich person turn wealth into greatness. He does not let the worker call exhaustion nobility. He does not let the comfortable call safety happiness. He does not let the ambitious call obedience strength. He asks for something harder than success, self-overcoming, not comfort, not equality, not applause, not moral innocence, not a clean image. Self-overcoming means becoming strong enough to look at the forces that made you and then decide whether they deserve to keep ruling you. That includes money. For some people, earning more may be part of self-overcoming. They need to escape dependence, chaos, humiliation, or scarcity. Nietzsche would understand that. Weakness is not holy. Financial helplessness can degrade the spirit too. But for others, chasing more is not strength at all. It is avoidance, a way to postpone the confrontation with emptiness, a way to keep scoring points in a game because the silence outside the game is too frightening. The severe test is this: does your pursuit of money increase your power over yourself, or does it increase money's power over you? Does it buy time, or does it consume time? Does it support your becoming, or replace it? Does it sharpen your instincts, or dull them? Does it make you more independent, or more afraid to lose comfort? Does it serve your highest values, or has it quietly become the highest value? Most people will not like their answer. And Nietzsche would not care, because his philosophy is not designed to comfort the half-awake. It is designed to wake the part of you that still finds your own domestication disgusting. That disgust matters, not the petty disgust of looking down on others. Nietzsche had enough of that in his worst readers. The useful disgust is directed inward, the moment you realize you have been living beneath yourself and can no longer pretend not to know. That moment is painful because it destroys innocence. Before it, you could say, this is just how life works. After it, you know better. You know that every day spent entirely in service of external demands leaves a mark. You know that every time you trade your best attention for approval, something in you weakens. You know that every year organized around money alone makes it harder to remember what money was supposed to serve. And once you know, you have a choice. Not an easy choice, not a cinematic choice, not the childish fantasy of walking away from all obligations and calling that freedom, a real choice to begin reclaiming pieces of life from the machinery of usefulness. Time that is not for sale. Thought that is not content. Friendship that is not networking. Rest that is not productivity strategy. Work that serves strength instead of replacing it. Ambition that grows out of inner necessity instead of fear. This is not a hack. It is not a morning routine. It is not a clean solution. It is a war over valuation. Nietzsche's claim is that most people lose that war without noticing because they are rewarded for losing it. They become employable, respectable, pleasant, useful, and tired. Then they call the exhaustion adulthood. But adulthood without self-command is only domestication with bills. So when Nietzsche says that chasing money can be the most slave-like thing a human being does, he is not condemning the coin in your hand. He is condemning the posture of your soul when you kneel before it. The slave-like person asks, "What will this earn me?" before asking, "Is this worthy of me?" The free spirit reverses the order. That reversal changes everything. Because once worth comes before reward, some profitable things become shameful. Some prestigious things become small. Some safe choices become unbearable. Some sacrifices become necessary. Some comforts begin to smell like surrender. And some forms of poverty may become preferable to a life spent richly betraying yourself. That sentence is dangerous, so do not soften it into stupidity. Poverty is not automatically noble. Need can break people. Financial desperation can make the soul mean, anxious, dependent, and small. But Nietzsche's point is that comfort can do the same thing. Comfort can make cowardice feel reasonable. It can make mediocrity feel mature. It can make obedience feel peaceful. It can make the last man smile and say, "We have invented happiness. This is the final horror." The slave does not always suffer visibly. Sometimes he adjusts, sometimes he decorates the cage, sometimes he becomes proud of the cage. Sometimes he looks at anyone who still wants more life, more danger, more height, and calls that person immature. The last man is not defeated because he is miserable. He is defeated because he no longer experiences his smallness as a problem. Nietzsche feared this most, not pain, but the loss of the capacity for greatness. Not poverty, but a world where everyone is comfortable enough to stop reaching. Not work, but work that consumes the force needed to become more than a worker. Not money, but money enthroned as the measure before which every higher instinct must bow. So ask the question without lying. What has the chase made of you? Not what has it bought you, not what has it proven to others, not what story can you tell about it online. What has it made of you? Are you stronger, freer, deeper, harder to manipulate, and more capable of solitude, creation, love, risk, and truth? Or are you simply more expensive to maintain? The Nietzschean insult hidden under the entire subject is simple. Many people do not become successful. They become costly. Their lifestyle grows, their obligations grow, their fear grows, their need for income grows, and then they call the whole structure freedom because the prison has a view. But a prison with a view is still a prison if leaving it terrifies you. Nietzsche's challenge is not to despise money, it is to dethrone it. Use it, earn it, spend it, and build with it if you must, but never let it become the final answer to the question of your worth. Because the moment money becomes the final answer, your soul has accepted an accountant as its priest. And Nietzsche's entire philosophy rebels against that kind of humiliation. The human being, at his highest, is not a balance sheet. He is not a job title. He is not a productive unit. He is not a brand. He is not a well-managed animal seeking comfort until death. He is a possibility, a dangerous, unfinished possibility. And every day, that possibility is either protected or sold. The terrifying thing is that most people sell it cheaply, not all at once, not in some dramatic betrayal. They sell it in ordinary mornings, polite compromises, unanswered instincts, postponed dreams, and years spent saying, "After this, I will finally live." Nietzsche would hear that sentence and laugh cruelly, because the person who keeps postponing life in order to prepare for life has already revealed who commands him. The money chase always says, later. Later you will rest. Later you will think. Later you will create. Later you will become yourself. Later, when the account is safer, the title is higher. The house is paid, the fear is gone. But fear does not retire when income rises. It mutates, and later is where unlived lives are buried. So the question remains open, sharp, and personal. How much of your life do you still own? Not in theory, not spiritually, in some vague inspirational sense. In hours, in attention, in energy, in courage, in the ability to choose against the rewards that have trained you. If the answer embarrasses you, good. That embarrassment may be the first honest thing you have felt in a long time.